Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in today's video we kick off with what I hope will become a new series here on the channel as we revisit Joey Drew Studios to take an in-depth look at some of its most prominent employees, their origins at the studio, and tragic fates at the hand of crazy creator Mr. Joey Drew. While these videos won't go too far into theory territory, they should be a good place to catch up on the character lore before the release of Bendy and the Dark Revival, and I hope for them to serve as a quick stop guide to certain key members of the studio. If you'd like direct input into which of the characters we focus on next, remember to follow my Twitter page to take part in the latest polls. As per your request on the first poll, today we venture into the Joey Drew Studios archives to look at a fan favourite, Sammy Lawrence. So sit back, relax, and let's return to the music department.
You look familiar to me. That face.
Sammy Lawrence was a long-time worker at Joey Drew Studios, serving as the music director and therefore senior to a very large group of workers beneath him. In fact, if we look at the Joey Drew Studios employee handbook, we get an idea of just how many people Sammy was ultimately in charge of. Sammy was in charge of creating all sound for the Bendy cartoons, not just incidental music, but also songs and even sound effects. While he directed, composed, and conducted this material, many other people helped make the magic happen. His right-hand man, for example, was Jack Thane, the head lyricist who wrote the majority of the words to songs used in the Bendy cartoons before sending them to Sammy for his approval.
Sammy's songs always got some bounce, but if I didn't get away once in a while, they'd never have any words to go with them.
Sammy's personality seemed very unstable. He was a bit of a workaholic and became so fixated on his work and getting it done in peace and quiet that he eventually built himself a secret sanctuary, away from the drone of everyday work.
Every artistic person needs a sanctuary. Joey Drew has his, and I've got mine.
Here he could seal himself behind a shutter and work undisturbed, but this isolation seemed to make him incredibly cranky and would eventually aid in his mental collapse. Sammy seemed to take issue with his workload, as Joey Drew would constantly ask for more and more material day in and day out. The studio was churning out Bendy cartoons to keep afloat in its latter days, thanks to the debts Joey's Ink Machine project landed it in. Sammy struggled to keep up with this workload as his staff dwindled in number.
4 cartoons almost complete, and all of them need a tune by tomorrow. Typical Joey planning. I'm working so much I'm starting to see Bendy in my sleep.
Despite this, he came across as a loyal company man, someone who was quick to take Joey's side in a pinch and defend his employer's actions. We can see this in a newspaper clipping from the employee handbook, with the title, "Joey Drew Studios Under Investigation, Financial Trouble Looming for Animation Company." Here a reporter made the following statement. Several animators confided that they hadn't seen their families in weeks, after being threatened with disciplinary action and termination if they were unable to finish their animations on exceedingly tight schedules. To which Sammy Lawrence replied, "Joey runs a pretty tight ship. Some people can't take it, and that's fine. This industry is all about survival of the fittest. We don't need a bunch of useless sheep who can't even finish their work on time." Sammy seemed dedicated to his work and employer no matter the cost to his own well-being. However, he didn't seem completely cold-hearted and was capable of compassion towards other human beings. This can be seen by a relationship hinted at between himself and voice actress Susie Campbell, a newcomer at the studio who soon went on to be the original voice of Alice Angel. While it is never explicitly stated that Sammy and Susie were a thing, the relationship is heavily implied, most notably by the way Susie speaks of Sammy in this audio log.
Sammy, our music director.
Also by the way Wally Franks speaks to their interactions here.
I heard her talking with Sammy the other day. If I'd know better, I'd say there was magic there.
And of course Alice Angel, who we now understand to be a very unhinged, inky version of Susie Campbell, makes this comment about Sammy during chapter 3 of Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Sammy said I had talent. He was always a good liar. Still, he was once a very handsome man.
This relationship started up in 1933, judging by Wally's audio log. However, by 1946, we know that a new actress had taken Susie's place as the voice of Alice Angel. This actress was Alison Pendle.
When I walked into the recording booth today, Sammy was there with that Allison.
It seems as though Sammy Lawrence's loyalty would always lie with Joey Drew Studios rather than his loved ones. He didn't stand up for Susie, nor did he protect her from Joey's cruel ink machine experiments, although perhaps this was a result of Sammy's own ink addiction around this time. So what became of Sammy Lawrence? We know his fate, but how did this occur? Well, the best place to gain deeper insight into Sammy's unhinged transformation can be found in the pages of the Bendy novel, Dreams Come to Life. This novel stars a character called Daniel Lewick, or Buddy for short, a new worker at the studio who has interactions with many of its staff around the height of the living ink outbreak. His first meeting with Sammy is pretty horrifying, as he saves him from being consumed by this living ink. I turned to the thing on the ground and realized it wasn't some monster. It was a man. A man covered in ink, writhing on the floor in agony and rage. Sammy had been drinking the living ink produced by the ink machine. This started as a result of coming in contact with a small amount of ink previously from one of the many leaking pipes built into the walls of the old studio. The book describes this ink as having supernatural properties, able to take hold of a person and once inside their body, take control of it. Living ink controls a person's mental state, sending them crazy. This is why Sammy became so twisted, and why he began worshipping creations born out of the ink, most notably the ink demon Bendy. As we near the end of the Dreams Come to Life novel, Sammy has become consumed by madness and sacrifices a number of workers at the studio, including projectionist Norman Polk, to his inky overlord. By the time Henry encounters Sammy within the cartoon recreation of the studio, he is too far gone.
Rest your head. It's time.
Where the hell did he go?
In the morning, you may wake. Or in the morning, you'll be dead.
His face is now featureless and hidden behind a Bendy mask. His body is coated in thick ink, and each hand only has 4 fingers. It seems as though his rebirth from the ink machine didn't produce a completely failed experiment like the Lost Ones, nor did he become reborn as a perfect cartoon creation like Buddy's Boris. Instead, he sits somewhere in between, neither man nor cartoon. A mishmash, a monster. He is also completely psychopathic now, sacrificing anyone he comes into contact with to Demon Bendy in the hope that by doing this he may reclaim his old body and be freed from his inky prison.
And then I will finally be freed from this prison, this inky, dark abyss I call a body.
Sammy also seems religious. Not only does he pray to the ink demon and create strange shrines and glyphs about the halls of the music department, he also calls his victims sheep. As if he feels himself to be a shepherd of some kind, offering up victims to appease his inky god. After summoning Ink Bendy during Henry's ritual, Sammy is attacked and seemingly killed by the ink demon. However, he reappears later in chapter 5 in an enraged and even more unstable state.
Betrayed, abandoned. I trusted you. I gave you everything.
By this point, Sammy has lost all faith and tumbles into a pit of despair. His voice has altered too, a result of being reborn from the ink once again and further losing hold of his humanity. Strangest of all, after Sammy is killed once again by Tom Boris, the repercussion of this action seems to set free the lost ones and searchers and unleash them on the 3 survivors. It's almost as if Sammy Lawrence kept these inky creatures at bay. Perhaps they looked up to him as their god. After all, he was one of the senior members of the company. Is it possible, even in their newly inky state, that these workers still held on to fragments of their human memories? Memories which made them subservient to their leader Sammy. Hence why they take swift vengeance upon his execution.
The Searchers and the Lost Ones built this place. Sammy must have been keeping them at bay.
We've looked at who Sammy was, his secret relationship, and how he transformed into the inky variant Henry meets during his adventure, but there are still a few noteworthy pieces of Sammy Lawrence trivia to look into. First of all, his original appearance in Bendy and the Ink Machine. This was Sammy's original look, far slimmer and less intimidating, but also lacking in the animation department. Originally in Bendy Chapter 2, he would stand lifeless before Henry while he completed his monologue. With the launch of Bendy Chapter 4 roughly 1 year later, the team at Joey Drew Studios implemented a hefty patch, which upgraded many aspects of the game, including Sammy and his animations. As you can see here, his new appearance is far more menacing due to a bulkier build, and he now has a full animation cycle during his big speech. The Meatly also commented that Sammy's birthday is April 18th, coincidentally the day Bendy Chapter 2 originally launched and introduced this kooky character to the world. What's more, early versions of Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 3 contained a hidden Easter egg whereby playing these instruments in a certain order would reward players with a creepy Sammy audio scare.
We've all been waiting, but now he will set us free.
If we head over to Chapter 4 Colossal Wonders and look behind this giant ink pipe, we can see a discarded Bendy mask which looks an awful lot like the one Sammy wore in Chapter 2. After all, the original end screen players were greeted with after completing Bendy Chapter 2 was this image of Sammy's mask floating in a pool of ink, presumably the remains of his body after Bendy attacked him. There has also been speculation that Sammy Lawrence and his lyricist Jack Fain may be inspired by the name of real-life music composers Sammy Fain and Jack Lawrence. Finally, we have the Sammy Searcher Easter egg. We spoke of how Sammy lost more and more of his humanity with each rebirth, and this seems to be confirmed by his reanimation as this Searcher near the end of Chapter 5, where his only distinguishable feature is the iconic mask. And with that, we come to the end of this look at Sammy Lawrence, a recap on his character before his potential return in future Bendy games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to give it a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.